Hi, I'm Christina, and welcome to this special episode of Women's Health, Wealth, and Happiness Interviews to Inspire. This is our Inspiring Women panel. Let's welcome April, Ruth, and Patricia. Hello, ladies.
Hello.
Hi,
Hi, happy to be here.
my name is April Lee Roberts. I am in Cleveland, Ohio. I am a disability advocate. I am the CEO and owner of Area Connect. And what I do is I represent applicants of Social Security disability and veterans. I also work in Medicare and Medicaid, help folks to kind of coordinate and access and educate themselves and families on all the other auxiliary benefits that are out there, because there's whether you're in hospital, whether you're trying to okay, now I'm on my benefits. Now what's next? Can I get housing? How do I get my medicine? Now what's next? Helping everybody educate themselves on that. That is kind of grown also into educating and helping to empower my clients a little bit on this isn't the end of the world. This is a new phase of your life. I've been kind of growing something there, and we've branched our business out into helping other folks that do the same thing that we do, how to grow and market their firm, and so on and so forth. So we're excited. And we teach in the field as well. That's us, me.
I'm Ruth, and I am in Ontario, Canada, and I'm a career clarity guide. I also am a meditation teacher and yoga instructor, and I love all things spiritual, guiding people basically back home to themselves, back home to their truth. And that can look in many different forms with many beautiful tools. And essentially, what I love doing is walking alongside people as they get to know who they truly are and why they're truly here, and how to embrace and shine as that, and how to open into receiving income through their impact.
I'm Patricia Dubroff. I hail today from Rockville, Maryland. I have a couple of different hats in this journey that I'm on. One is as a professional artist, and I've been creating art since I was a very young child, and I've just completed a series of portraits of caregivers because I feel like caregivers are unsung heroes. And so those 50 portraits are in a traveling exhibition, and they come with stories, and people are allowed to nominate their favorite caregivers on my website, and I would be honored to interview them and get their stories. So I've got a podcast of my own going. Every month we offer up a new caregiver story. And my other role is as the Director of Community Relations for Assisting Hands Home Care of Potomac, where we provide excellent certified nursing aides to families in the area who need extra support, whether they're post-surgery or whether they're living with the challenges of many of these long-time diseases like ALS or MS, Parkinson's, Alzheimer's, post-stroke, all kinds of things that limit our ability to care for ourselves and probably limit the ability of your loved one to care for you as well. Because what we find is caregiver burnout is super high from family caregivers, and oftentimes the caregiver themselves passes away before the loved one because they're so burnt out and they haven't realized it. So we come in and we help respite care for the family, and we add into that this arts and healing mix that I bring from my 40 years in the field.
The theme that I see here not only is the entrepreneurial spirit, but the caring spirit, as you all are helping people care for themselves and care for those around you. I think that's amazing. April, do you have a question you would like to ask the ladies?
Gosh, I don't even know where to start. I'm going to start, I think, with Ruth. When I was actually on the phone with my mom when I was looking over, because I always tell my mom, I'm doing another thing with Christy. My mom gets so excited because my mom always thought Christy was adorable. We went to school together, Christy and I.
Oh,
Together. Sorry, I let the cat out of the bag. And so my mom is just that's so wonderful, because she just thinks that this endeavor is amazing. And
Bravo, Christina.
It is. I was talking to my mom, about careers and stuff. I said, gee, I could be a career coach. I could tell people what not to do as a young woman. We were joking. And I said to myself, I said, how do you get started as a career coach? My mom says, ask Ruth. So I'm going to ask Ruth.
Oh, juicy. I love that conversation you had with your mom and how it's now full circle. That's a great question. I would say I had a strong upbringing and background of this is what you have to do, of these few options: a lawyer, a doctor, something reputable, and something that society would deem as quote unquote successful. And so I really took that on in my earlier years and worked really hard, wanted to be successful and wanted to contribute something to society. And I went down that path, even though it wasn't true for me and it didn't feel good for me. And I kept on walking along because I honestly thought that this is what life was really about. You're supposed to work really hard, not feel really great. You get the weekends off, you go on holiday, and then you repeat the cycle until you retire. And it wasn't until I entered the workforce, I got 3 full-time job offers in the area of my study, that I just really knew that this wasn't for me. And when I thought about living my life, continuing this path, I just knew that this was not where I was meant to be. And so I left, I packed up all my things, I traveled and went on a journey to discover who I was and what I wanted out of life. And deep down in my soul, there was always this excitement and this passion to help people and to expand into all that I can be. So I went down that path of like, what does that look like? And who am I? And that brought me to the meditation world and reflecting deeply on myself. And that was really the core of what I wanted to help women with, was getting to know themselves, understanding that peace, freedom, abundance starts within and is simply a mirror that reflects outwards, and how to apply that to life. I was having all of these conversations as I was offering yoga and meditation with people, both men and women, about careers and wanting to do something more fulfilling and knowing that there's something more out there for them. And I kept hearing this over and over again. I want to lead with my heart and not have to worry about income. If I was abundantly supported financially, this is what I would really light up in doing. And so I recognized that there was this deep need for support, and it's such a juicy time and also a time that can bring up a lot of fears of failure, fears of what will my family think? Will I succeed? Will I be able to support myself? Those limitations, those fears really become a portal to one's deepest growth and deepest alignment. And that's what really spoke to me.
Thank you for
Yeah.
that paints an amazing picture of, that's a fascinating journey. Thank you for that answer.
Yeah. Thank you for the question.
Yeah, and she just got back from how many months now? And you're 5 months in Asia,
Wow.
touring about and seeking and learning and being.
Where were you?
I was mostly in Cambodia. That's my mom's homeland. And so there's this deep history of the beauty of Cambodia, the culture, and also the genocide, which was a part of my upbringing and how I came to know my mother through that lens of trauma, loss, being uprooted. And I was on this huge journey of like deep healing myself and understanding my ancestral lineage. So the universe just brought us both there at the perfect time. I was also in Singapore and Malaysia.
Wow.
Yeah.
My daughter
Wonderful.
lives in Malaysia, so I too know
Yeah.
Malaysia and Singapore from my last trip. It's great.
Mhm.
And finding those, I think all of us question at some point, because Ruth actually, if I may, Ruth, was an accountant before.
Mhm.
Before she went through this next journey. So, all of us have that experience of like, is this the right path? Is this the right path? Is this the right path? And then you go, well, maybe I should try this. But all of us in different levels, whether it's small or big or, those changes. And I find it so interesting because I've had the opportunity to get to know Ruth and even early on with this career that she's working on now. And I'm thrilled to see and hear about the experiences that she's had from that. And when we reflect in on our own pieces of going, yeah, those are hard times, trying to guide somebody through going, hey, because we have to find our answers within, right?
So it's really interesting. I was listening to your earlier talk with Christina, Ruth, and when you admitted in that series that you had been an accountant, I was like, wow, that could have been me because I was supposed to be the accountant in the family, but I was an artist and I chose to stay with that passion. And it led me to arts and healing because I needed work that would be at the time when my kids were in school. I was single parenting. I wanted not to have them in after and before school. So, what population is available at that time are seniors. And it was just at the beginning of the concept that nursing homes could be healthier places, that they could actually involve things like recreation therapy and art therapy and creativity time. So I was right at the beginning of that uphill when I started in the 90s. No turning back. I mean, that really did guide me into a 35-year career as a professional consultant and able to stay with my own visual art as well, hence making these 50 portraits. So it all kind of wove together, just following the path that was closest to my heart. So hats off to you for making that decision that you knew this wasn't exactly where you should be, that you could be someplace else and be happier. It's beautiful, beautiful, beautiful story.
Thank you.
April, would you like to ask Patricia a question?
Oh, Patricia, it sounds to me like you created your own space from day one. You didn't wait for somebody to say, well, here's the classes, here's the certificate, here's the job, here's step one, here's step two, here's step three. You said, okay, there's the mountainside, here's my sharp tools, here's my hammer. I'm going to carve my path. And not enough women understand that that is absolutely there for the taking. Am I mistaken? That sounds to me like what the path you embarked on.
Yeah, I was very fortunate in that soon after I got familiar with this concept that arts and healing for aging was a thing, and there was research being done about it by Dr. Jean Cohen, among others. And I was able to sort of connect with other people doing the same thing. We all started, but we didn't know each other. And we came together under an umbrella called the Society for Arts and Healthcare, which is since defunct. It was the first time I really was at a conference where I got what was going on. Like there wasn't a single session that I didn't want to be at. It was impossible because, they had like 2 rounds of different things going on at the same time. But they were all my peeps and they would have ask the expert sessions, and you could sit down with somebody who had more experience than you to say, where should I go with this? I mean, we were writing strategic plans based on things that we projected were going to happen, but nobody had actually completed it yet. So I did a 7-year pilot at a nursing home here in Maryland, and it was so well received and it became a best practice in the nation. And then I took it on the road. So, yeah, I mean, skills that you have as a thinker, an accountant is a left brain thinker, right? I have that in my DNA. And my father helped computerize the Internal Revenue Service back in the 70s. So he knows phase one, phase two. We all were trained in this, what you gather from your parents. So that was one of the most profound things my dad gave me, was this ability to create a plan and know what that is. And the other thing he was very clear about, well, two things. One is that no was never an option, which is a struggle for me now because I'm really doing too much. So running an art life and running a full-time job is a lot, plus family, plus. I'm sort of leaning more into a phrase that I learned in Malaysia, actually, which is when they don't have something on the menu, they say, sorry, madam, not today. And really what that means is never. They're never going to have oat milk and a decaf cappuccino. It's going to be caffeinated and it's going to be cow's milk. But they don't want to say that and hurt your feelings. So they say, no, madam, not today. So that's kind of where I'm heading with trying to limit my life into a little bit less hecticness. And the other thing he was really good about is that when I was a young student, he saw a drawing that I did. I did a lot of nudes. And he said, I get it. You really see things differently than other people. And I applaud your ability to do that. So kind of saying you don't have to be an accountant kind of thing. It's like, I think you might have promise in something else. So it's mindful. I haven't thought of those things in a long time. So thank you for that question, April. I think it's true. We kind of have that choice of going with flow or ignoring flow, blocking the dam and going someplace else. So I definitely was going with the flow. My mother at 97 is still flowing beautifully.
Wow.
And she gets such a kick out of my career because it was not anything she expected either. And I have two girls who grew up with an artist mom, and they have both taken kind of the opposite ways. They're both very creative. They don't feel like that's their big thing right now. My daughter is actually a high school counselor in Malaysia, in Kuala Lumpur, in the international school, and she loves it, and it's her home. And my older daughter is in LA with a new baby and a corporate job for her husband, and they love that. So you know what? They're very happy. It's like finished with them. Now we can just play together. So I have a question. Ruth, I also was trained I went through certification as a life coach because a lot of what I do is about helping people vision what they see as their best possible selves through the arts, through the creativity. And I wanted to know what the inside scoop was on that. So I took the trainings. But it's really daunting when you have to do self-marketing. I did that for 35 years. In the field where you're providing a service like you are, maybe there's 10 sessions, maybe there's 100 sessions, but there's always going to be an end to the sessions and you have to go and find more clients. So how many clients do you feel like is the right number, and how do you stay at that level?
That's a great question. I love that. I think with conversations, because I also have connection with other coaches and people in similar field of wanting to create their own thing and share their gifts and be more free. And it's certainly something that changes over time, and it's a continual flow. And so what I feel is there are seasons of being abundant and full, and then there's down seasons, just like the cycles of nature. And what I've noticed is to embrace those times and to really see, like, take a step back and see that life isn't necessarily meant to be a certain consistent level all the time. And there might be certain themes or lessons that are coming in this season of life that make me take a step back from coaching. So I was diagnosed with Lyme disease 2 years ago and did some deep healing. And I also had a farmstead. So I was doing a lot of things. And that season of life was really stepping back and reconsidering how my life is going and what energy I'm operating from. And what I notice with marketing is so many lessons that I can be self-conscious and there can be a fear of being seen. And this part that gets activated, I need to be perfect in order to be successful, in order for people to like me, and to really create a loving space for that, and to know that who I am is enough and that the right people show up at the right time and that I get to be in my energy of receiving and of really being here to serve instead of I need to get the next client. I need you to sign. I need you to join. And that just transforms everything.
That's great.
Mhm. Yeah, thank you for your question.
Sure.
And I think that's an important piece. And it's funny because I've seen a few people post recently on LinkedIn about taking that pause. And I'm like, do they know I'm in this place right now myself? Because I'm reorganizing this podcast. I'm creating the Women Getting Visible conference and about to launch that podcast. But it's like at the same time, I know it's not through the marketing, but I will also have to market and say, hey, this is something I'm doing. But just that giving yourself grace, which I loved on a panel we were with Amy Noobson. And that was one of the things that she talked about, is like taking that moment of grace, of going, it's okay. We don't have to always push ourselves through. Sometimes just taking that step back and looking at things a little different can be so enriching to our souls, and giving that grace.
Mhm.
Join our women's community on Patreon. Check out the notes below.
That's lovely. Well, I really like that, April, that you're working with folks with disabilities and their families and veterans. We also work with a lot of veterans, and we find that so many veterans just haven't signed up for any services. So when they get to the point of needing home care services, they don't even know it exists. And it's one of the only, quote, insurances that provides home care that you're not paying like long-term care insurance for. So I applaud you for helping veterans sign on to programs and to get the most out of their benefits, because if anybody deserves support, it's folks who've gone above and beyond in battle.
Oh yes. And they don't even realize that, especially if they're not at that retirement age, that not only can they get Social Security disability, that they can also get up to 100% of their service connected compensation.
Wow.
And not only would they then be eligible for aid and attendance when they got older or become unable to manage their ADLs at home, but then their spouse is also eligible for aid and attendance should they become unable to manage their ADLs. And that's something to remember. And depending on the situation that veteran passes, not only is his spouse eligible for survivor benefits, which could be a significant benefit on top of their retirement and or Social Security disability, but let's say the spouse isn't there, the spouse has passed. Well, in many situations, the children can collect the survivor benefit, especially if the child of that veteran is disabled.
Wow.
And nobody has any idea of that. And especially with the new PACT Act and all of the new service connection, there's so many presumptive disabilities now based on what you were possibly
Exposed
to, and it doesn't even have to be a combat situation. Number one. Number two, a lot of things that people were originally or previously denied for go back, because now they're going to look at it differently, and people don't even realize some of the conditions that they have. Why would you have diabetes, but you're healthy weight and everything else? And you got to look at these things. And a lot of the people are our age or a little bit older than us that have been deployed recently or during Desert Storm. There's a lot of those folks are coming to a point where things are happening with their bodies and they really need to consider, hey, and sometimes depending on those conditions, there's additional benefits that can be applied for despite the veteran being 100%. And then there's all those other benefits. Sometimes a neighborhood has extra benefits they will provide. Some places your water bill is going to get reduced because you're a disabled veteran or because you're on SSDI. People don't know of the handfuls of other benefits that are also available to them, and they're not necessarily welfare based or low income or needs based.
Yeah, amazing resource. Wow.
Yeah. And nobody knows that I'm telling hospital social workers this, I'm telling nurses this. Hey, don't forget. And right now, because I had a heart attack back in April and
Wow.
I got 2 stents put in. It was a little devastating and it was a real wake up call. And I have been in cardiac rehab. It's kind of like kindergarten for middle-aged people. There's a bunch of us in there. And it's fantastic. I've lost 20 pounds. I've learned how to exercise. I feel better than I did when I was 30. There's a whole bunch of us in there. And we talk about what we do. And it's funny because we have like these little meet with April after class things because people always have questions for me. And I feel delighted to share that information and to be able to help folks like that, which has really given me pause to think I need to find a way. And I haven't really been able to gel the whole thing. I've talked to a couple of friends, but I really need to come up with a way to get that information out there. The work that I do is so routine and has me, it's time to, I'm kind of at the point, like, how do I reinvent and repackage everything that I do to still help people be able to eat but still help people and really get this information out there and take this whole thing that I know how to do. Because I don't feel like I'm maximizing everything that I can get out there to everybody. Right now I feel it's routine and they're getting 50% of what I can do and almost kind of spinning my tires. It's like,
Sounds like a podcast maybe in your future.
Yeah, I kind of feel like I can reach a lot of people there. But how do I reach? I do deal with a lot of the homeless, and they do have their cell phones, but how do I reach them? How do I reach them and give them resources? A lot of them are pretty smart. They really know what's available to them on the street level, but I've been able to convince a few of them. You really can ramp that up, and without dealing with all the homeless shelter and the nonsense you don't want to mess with, you can get income because you're eligible for SSI because there is a mental issue or their COPD is so bad. A lot of COPD and heart on the street. Get that SSI, you get that notice of award, you take that and apply for HUD or you apply for housing because that's your proof of income. Get your own little place. They don't always have the bandwidth, the Wi-Fi or whatever to be able to watch, something. So
I was going to say, in our area, once you get that certification, you have an 8-year minimum waiting list before you get housing.
really,
Our system is so broken. So
Yeah.
broken. So
Yeah,
it's
and
like,
that's-
I can get that far, but then what do you do?
then what do you do? Yeah.
It's sad. It's really sad. And we're in one of the wealthiest counties in the nation.
There's no excuse for it.
None.
There really is no for it.
And we have
No.
great leadership here in Maryland. I'm very proud during this very difficult time in the federal government issues that the state of Maryland is really supporting so much social justice and trying to keep Maryland floating well. But housing is an issue everywhere, and they're trying some new things, but it's daunting. It's sad when you see it happening,
Yes. And, I get yelled at because I've been told I spend too much time. You're not going to get any money out of that case. And I don't think I should be sainted for this, but it's like, well, but I'm the only person that's going to make a difference. I'm the only person, this person's ever going to meet. I never meet any of these people. I'm the only, that voice, me, you know.
You did more training. Maybe you need more of you. Maybe you need to clone you.
Oh no, the
Like, can
world
you imagine
big
if there were
trouble.
6
Chrissy's
of you
laughing.
out there? That would be awesome. There'd be so much more healing in this planet.
I've talked to a wife of an owner of a Medicare insurance broker, and she and I have discussed what about like a hub that people can come to for indirect. Could we get a grant for something like that? Or I don't got to worry about a fee or anything like that. We can get these people's cases filed. When you're just filing them and working on them, and you're not chasing the fee and worrying about this and that, you can file any case, regardless of you're going to get a fee or not. And you don't got to worry about the costs, and just get them done. And then I'll file the Medicaid, because you can't charge somebody necessarily to do a Medicaid file. It can be a pain, but get that Medicaid filed along with it, food stamps filed along with it, and then look up and coordinate services for people. Like, have a hub. 211 has 5% of what you can do. Maybe the local homeless shelters have another 15%. An area office on aging knows about 30%. Give me all of that information, because give it all here. Give me the VA, give me what the girls at the hospital and maybe a couple of the nursing homes know, and get it all, because I know it. Put it here. One nice directory. Hi, this is April. What do you need? So you need to call this guy, or let me call and scream at this person for you, and I'll get it. And I do a good 5-6 hours of that minimum a week. And my staff, I train to do that. And they happily do that, because the big law firms won't do it. The big disability firms won't do it. But it's part of what your people are going through. And it's part of what keeps them from becoming homeless, or going off the deep end, or getting themselves so sick, or just think about it. You were working, you're paying your bills. Most of us are paycheck to paycheck. You're paying your bills, and all of a sudden you find out something terrible. You get into a car wreck, or you have a major health event, and you can't go back to work at that factory. You're done. You're 55. You have 2 teenagers at home, and your wife, she works at the grocery store, at the deli. And that's a lot of people. And you're George, and you're not going to work anymore. That's it. You got short-term disability. You have no long-term disability. And now you're going to file for disability. It's going to take you a year and a half to get, maybe. And you're going to have no income during that time. You got a car payment, 2 car payments. You got mortgage. What do you do? Well, Social Security does one of these with your paperwork, even with a good advocate, and so you have other things that are going on. Well, what should I do, April? Call your mortgage, say this, call all your utilities, do this, tell them this, give them a copy of what I filed, blah, blah, blah. There's advice to keep people from completely losing everything, including their minds. Go get a therapist. Your life just changed. You're going to need somebody to talk to. Do this, have this, and change this around. The mortgage company will do this if you tell them this. There's things that can be done. And I just don't feel like anybody else that's doing what I'm doing is giving that information. And again, I just don't feel like the way I'm doing it, I just feel like it could be maximized. I've really been trying to brainstorm, especially since my heart attack. My whole brain, for some reason, I think so differently after that. But just trying to come up with a way to maximize getting that information out, even to my own clients. And hopefully we'll think of a way soon.
It's amazing. Again, kudos to you for stepping into a space that people don't know how to step into, or asking the questions, because that's what you don't know what you don't know. I don't know how else to put it better than that, but kudos to you for what you do. Absolutely. Ruth, would you like to ask some questions?
I would. I will start with Patricia and give April a little break. I was listening to your interview with Christina and sort of the journey that you took and becoming an artist, having two daughters. And there was something you said about when a painting sells, there's no expectation. And when a painting sells, you celebrate. And I really sensed this excitement and this aliveness. So that's what this question was really born from. I'd love to know, what's one thing you're really proud of and why?
Wow, so many things. I'm gonna put that on the art side for tonight. I think I'm very, very pleased and proud that I've created these 50 portraits and have the stories, and very happy that folks are hearing about the exhibition and wanting to display it and start the conversation about caregiving in America. Because at some point, you're either going to need care or be the caregiver. It's just going to come down to that. Or you're going to know somebody who's a caregiver, or you're going to be married to somebody who's a caregiver. So I feel like that is a huge accomplishment. And I set myself this goal to do the 50 portraits, and it took 30 years, but it happened. So that was really wonderful. And this new podcast, I'm trying to stay hip and figure out how to do things in the world. Hip is probably such an old phrase that it probably just made me sound really old, but I'm trying to stay within the new technology. So having a podcast every month to create and have ready to go is a big challenge. I'm also very proud of the fact that I don't have to learn how to do everything, but I know how to find good people who can do it with me, because I love collaborative projects. So for the podcast, there's 3 of us that work on it, and I feel like it makes it much more doable. I couldn't have done it by myself. And then I had visited Italy for the first time in my life, and I knew I was going to be overwhelmed by all the artwork there, because it's just full of artwork everywhere. We saw so much so fast, and I came home and I had all these images in my head, and I just got studio time, and I thought they would be sketches for bigger works, because I usually work like 9 by 7 feet, and I only had time to make small ones. So I started using paper bags, not thinking much about it, and they came out really great. And so I'm very proud to say I have a show coming up in September, a second show of these. I've had one show already. But it's just letting go and knowing that I had to get some images out. And it is true, when a painting sells, I celebrate big time, because you don't know when the next painting's going to sell. There was a time in my life when artwork sold regularly, and I've hired an intern this summer to go through all of the agreements. Every artist typically has some sort of agreement when you buy a unique piece of art, maybe. And my agreement is based on the fact that I don't want to see it reproduced on something without my written permission. So that's what they sign off on. But I have an accordion file this thick from over the years of all the pieces that have gone to other places. So this young man is digitizing that for me so that I can actually try to reach back out to these collectors. Where are the pieces? Are they still being enjoyed? Have they gone and passed on to some other family member? And sort of to give my kids a legacy of these hundreds of pieces that are out in the world somewhere. And it could be a fun project to go visit them or meet the people who bought the artwork. Some people I'm still in touch with. I have over 500 paintings in this house, paintings and drawings that I made. And then I've collected artwork from other artists, probably close to 100 pieces. So it's kind of daunting. And so I'm at that age where I'm trying to, not so much like a Swedish death organizing, but I am trying to make some sense of this for my kids so that when they inherit it, they can be like, oh, we know what this is. So I'm one of those organized artists. I also do that legacy work for other artists, or at least show them what to do and then let them hire a data person to do it for them. But there's a lot of responsibility when you make a lot of art. And you owe it to your collectors, at least I feel like you do, to be accountable and responsible. You want them to have value in their artwork that they've purchased from you years ago.
Yeah, it reminds me of how these pieces live. They take on a life of their own, and they
Right.
journey, and to trace that is such a cool thing to think about. are they being enjoyed? Where are they? What lives have they lived? So that was
I've-
really cool.
In all these years, I've lost one painting. Literally, I saw it disappear. There was a gap between the wall and this built-in piece of furniture in a restaurant I was showing at in West Virginia years ago. And I, I can't explain it, but it fell off the wall, fell through that gap, and we could never get it back. It was like in the wall somewhere in this 100-year-old building.
Oh.
So unless they take the wall down, that's not coming out. It's probably done. It was on paper. The piece behind me is actually the big sunflowers is a nice sized painting about 4 by 5 feet in my husband's office, and he enjoys that a lot.
I love
It's beautiful.
sunflowers.
Yeah,
Yeah, me too.
yeah, I love that big piece. But you know, it's like the rest of the paintings, I pretty much know where they are. I mean, they're like little children, you know, kind of you send them out into the world and you hope they're behaving and you know, having a great time wherever they are.
Beautiful.
Yeah, it's interesting. You don't think of that when somebody creates a custom piece or hand painted item or a sculptor, one of a kind item. We just had a
Jewelry.
conference in New Mexico, or the lady was making beautiful jewelry, and I bought a piece. But does she think about the pieces that she made? Because she explained the stone and what it was for, and the spiritual significance of the shape of the stone and everything to me. Like, does she think about where that stone went? Does she think about what it's doing for me or whatever? How interesting. You take that for granted.
Yeah. Well,
What a
that's
beautiful,
one of the
what a
things
beautiful
we're
thing.
trying to do as local artists here in the Washington area is to teach people again about the value of collecting artwork, because you can go to any big box store and buy reproductions, and you
Yeah.
know, they're big canvases, they're bright, they're cheery, they may even look like this for all I know, but it's not unique, and there's no artist well, there may be an artist behind their several reiterations, like it was probably made by an artist and then bought the rights to reproduce it in multiple ways. But it's different than when you buy directly from the artist. And I highly encourage that for people. You can have a really great relationship with your artist, and it makes for the piece of art to be that much more special.
Absolutely. April, are you ready for your question?
I am.
Okay. On your interview with Christina, you talk about self-love and even doing little things to take care of yourself and to support yourself. My question to you is, what is a message you'd like to tell your younger self and why? It's a bit vulnerable, but I feel like you are up for the challenge.
Don't. It was so funny because I was joking with my mom about that earlier. We were talking about that. Oh my gosh. I would want to say to her, you can. You can. You are not any of the things that you're frightened that you are. You're not any of the things that, put it this way, you've got people whose opinions you're concerned about. They matter not. They matter not. And how do I even put it? You cannot invest anything of your soul or your heart or your energy into anything that anybody around you is thinking, because it has no value. Those opinions of other people, the worries and fears that you have, will dissolve to nothing. They mean nothing. The things that you want to be, you can do. Just set yourself free to do them, because there's absolutely nothing in your way. The things that you think that are in your way are not. There's nothing. There's nothing there. There is nothing but you and what you want and those that you love. Other than that, there's nothing. You really are free. That's what I would say to her. I think that if I could go back, like that quantum leap, I think I would capture her and I think she would believe it. I really do. But when you go back and you pretend to say that to your 25-year-old self, the mind doesn't know much, the subconscious mind especially, doesn't know the difference between what's really in front of you and what you tell it. When you go back and you tell that younger self, it's okay. Or don't be sad. Don't cry about that. It's okay that that happened. That younger self is healing. You take the pain, you take that burden off of that younger self, and you're laying it down. I try to visit a younger self a lot to do that. I try.
Beautiful. Thank you. I just feel it in my heart, the words that you share.
Thank you.
April's always been a rock star.
That was just so beautiful.
Thank you. Thank you. I've been through a lot in my life. My dad and my mom, they were young. They were 19 and 20 when they married. So I remember them being 25, 28, 30.
Mm.
And so I remember them being young. When my dad looks back and he doesn't appreciate every decision that he made. My mom doesn't, we could have done this different. You know what I told two of them the other day on Mother's Day? I said, listen, I'm going through some tough times, right? I have some legal stuff going on from a person interfering with our business. Whatever, it happens. But it's stressful. I had the heart attack. I'm trying to balance things. And I'm, like I said, I'm trying to turn this into something and, blah. And I've been through hard times in my life. We didn't have a lot of money, had to work, had to help put siding on the house. And I had to help sand drywall when I was 11 years old and whatever. Carry wood, work on the car. And I told my dad the other day and I told my mom, I said, listen, I said, I had to get through a lot on my own. I went through some really tough times and I survived them. And I told them both. I said, you guys, I can complain. You didn't let me do this. You were hard on me. You made us work all the time, blah, 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 whatever. We always have what we needed. And I said, I can survive. You remember, like, whatever kind of bird, the baby bird falls out of the tree, it's supposed to the whole way down. I thanked them. I said, because I would not be surviving what I am now. And I would not be talking my clients through what I talk them through. I would not be able to help the people that I help. I said, so I would not go back and change even some of the really bad times. I wouldn't go back and change any of it. I said, because I can survive anything this world throws at me. Meaning that I can help some people out of some really rough times. I can tell them my stories. I can say, hey, I've had that happen too. It's all right. It's cool. Hey, I take that medication too. Don't be embarrassed. It's all good. And my dad and my mom said, hey, it's all right, And it was so good to have that moment of peace because it wasn't always great growing up and stuff between me and my parents. Part of it was me. I was a pain in the behind. But I think that's part of what made me every bit of who I am. If I went back and tried to change those painful times, I wouldn't be the exact person who's sitting in this chair. And I don't know that I would want that to be any different because then that changes the spiritual path that I'm on. And that I would not want to change because I like where I'm going. I like where that's going. I'm not there yet. It's a journey, but I like the path because I know it's at the end of that path. And I would not be seeing that if I had not gone through everything that I've gone through. And at least it allows me to help teach and give and share and empathize with a lot of people that are in pain that would stay there in that muck. I don't like all these people in that muck. And if I can pull as many as I can out of it with me, I'm happy to do that. Absolutely.
Ladies, this has been an amazing conversation once again. And so it's time to wrap up. Patricia, any last words that you'd like to share for this panel?
Every year I try to have a mantra word that's going to help me get through the difficult times of that year. And I think embracing change is what's on top for me. And that seems like something very fluid with all of us, that we're all open to accepting that, because, there's no point in thwarting it. It's going to happen. So why not get in the river with it and flow and see where it takes you? So that's my 2 cents.
Beautiful. Ruth.
Yeah, I echo what Patricia shared, and I think Christina really hit the nail on the head in the beginning, that we're all such caring people. And I really got a sense of just like a little bit of a taste of the depth of how much we love and care and open our hearts to the world and continue to meet challenges to grow so that we can give that back to our loved ones and our community. So I'm really grateful to be in this space and to feel that energy.
Fantastic. And April.
Embracing change. I like that. I think that women especially need to be okay with that, to be okay with reinventing themselves and be okay with carving their own path. Everybody needs to be okay with that, and that to look at that as a golden opportunity for growth and an invitation from God or the universe or whatever you believe in, to look at it as that open door to be embraced.
This was so nice, Christina. You're always
yeah,
making
thank
it so
you.
welcoming.
Absolutely. Ladies, I want to thank you for joining me today on this special episode of Inspiring Women in Women's Health, Wealth, and Happiness. April, Ruth, and Patricia, thank you. And thank you for all the watchers and listeners to this podcast. If any of you are around in DC, second weekend of October, 10, 11, 12, that's when I'll be having the conference. Just wow with another group of amazing ladies on this Women, Health, Wealth, and Happiness and Interviews to Inspire podcast with another great set of inspiring women. Thank you for tuning in. Hi,
This
I'm
episode
Christina.
is sponsored
Welcome
by
to this episode of Women's Health, Wealth, and Happiness
1 Minute Calm.
Interviews to Inspire.